Hello friends, today I am going to explain about object-oriented programming. Hello friends, today I am going to explain about object-oriented programming concept in C#. Hello friends, today I am going to explain about object-oriented programming concepts in C#. So normally, when we are going to develop any piece of software or piece of code in legacy systems, we do use procedural languages. Step by step, we use the language to build upon the software component. But in the gradually, when it comes to the feature-based applications, the new concept has came, which is object-oriented programming. So, in this oops, everything is an object. Like, I'm going to the next slide. What is the agenda for this oops concept? What is oops? Why oops? How oops? And lastly, concepts in oops. So generally, what's in oops? Basically, oops means object-oriented programming. Okay. So when we are talking about the what is oops, oops means object-oriented programming. By name itself, we do programming with objects. So objects are nothing but real-time or real-world entities. So when you take any object in this real-time world, everything is an object. So if you take it as a book, vehicle, pen, relationship, gender, so it is a one kind of thing, right? So in order to represent such real-time, real-world objects, we will mention as objects in coding concepts. Okay. So then we move to the next slide. Why oops? So oops generally deals with completely with objects only, and these objects are communicating between the objects made easy to implement the programs. So generally, suppose there is a one person is there, so he drives car, he drives bike, he drives cycle. So a person is the object and vehicle is the object. So the communication between the vehicle object and the person object, everything is the object. So everything we are dealing with the objects. So in order to communicate between the objects, there is a one more object. So if we are designing this kind of objects, it will be more of reusability, and design also looks good and easy to maintainability. So that's why we can easily achieve the software piece as easy to drive reusability purpose. So then we go for the how oops. So we talked about the what is oops and why oops. So how to implement that oops. So in order to create object oriented class, we need to create a class object as below. Suppose there is an employee is there. So for that I created as public class employee. So here employee is class and object. So everything, any employee, whether it is a contractual employee, whether it is a permanent employee, any kind of employee, we denote with the employee class objects. So let's move to the concepts in OOP. So majorly these OOP concepts have three categories. So one is the encapsulation, second is the abstraction, third is the polymorphism. This polymorphism is divided into two types. One is the compile time polymorphism, second is the runtime polymorphism. Okay. This encapsulation is a process of grouping fields or members and making as a single entity. So we can achieve this functionality by creating a class and properties methods to the class. So in the previous example, how we created the employee class. The same way here also we are creating one example as public class employee. But in this one, I created one method, one property. So the property is a public string employee name get set properties, and public void display name is the method name. So when we create the instantiation of employee object, that object contains this employee name and display name. So every time we no need to create the employee name, display name, or any other fields or any other method names. We no need to create any new fields. So based on the construction of the object, installation of the object, it will referred by the internally as the framework will do get the properties and methods of the class. Okay. So this is the encapsulation. Next we move to the abstraction part. Abstraction is the process of hiding the complexity details and showing the relevant details to the end user. Basically, we can achieve this abstraction from creating access modifiers like private, public, internal, protected, and protected internal. So each access modifier has own responsibilities or own limitations. So those limitations you can see here. Private is accessible within the class itself. It cannot be used in the next other classes. But when it comes to the protected, it is accessible within the class and in the derived class. Internal is accessible within the assembly of the project. Protected internal is accessible within the assembly and in the derived classes. Public is a global component. It can be accessed from anywhere in the assemblies, across the projects, and in the derived classes. Everywhere we can access them by the public property. So we move to the polymorphism section. So in the beginning of the session, I told that polymorphism it is divided into two parts. So one is the compile time polymorphism and second is the runtime polymorphism. Let's uh, understand what is polymorphism first of all. So polymorphism, poly means many, morphism means forms. It has many forms. So compile time polymorphism can achieved by method overloading concepts. Method name is same but parameters are different. Which means suppose in the earlier example I given as a display name. So here that method name is the same. When I want to write one more method with the same display name, but I given as a string as a employee name as a property. So display name string employee name. So whenever I use display name, I will pass some name to the method. So in that way, method overloading happens. So if I want to create new more method with the overloading concept, I will create the display name and parameterize the employee name, and I would like to introduce one more parameter as employee ID. So in this example, I have used three methods with the same names but the different parameters. So one is the parameterless method and second is the one parameter which is passing as a parameter of employee name, and the third one is the parameter name as employee name and employee ID. So, but when it comes to the runtime polymorphism, the method will disaggregate the runtime itself. So that's why we call it as a runtime polymorphism. So generally this runtime polymorphism we can achieve by the interface concepts or abstract methods, which is in the base class, overriding the derived classes or virtual classes in the base class, and overriding in the derived classes. This way we can achieve the runtime polymorphism. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Probably you can have more questions. If you have any questions, you can please drop me your questions to my email ID kiran.sarpadi@gmail.com. Yeah, thank you.